it's a miracle that I know what I'm doing here. And then watch.
Oh, you've never had somebody talking back to you. So I'm going to turn this Instagram audio down because his voice will.
Oh, you're right. I've never had anyone talk back to me on Instagram. So we're only using the audio on StreamYard then. So, and now watch this. Let me see if I can find it. Banners. No. There, I have a banner for him. I have a banner for me. And now if I go to And hello, everybody on my live stream. It's Dr. Wendy Walsh. This is my live stream. We've given it a name now. Instead of just me saying, hi, it's Dr. Wendy Walsh and I'm here, we're calling it the Science of Love because we're going to be talking to lots of people in the future about their own love lives. I don't know if my guest really understands what he's in for, but let's add him to the stream right now. Here we go. There we go. Hi, DJ Hed. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Oh, see, now we are hearing two audios. See, we're testing it out. We're going to turn off Instagram audio and now say hello.
Turn the phone down.
Perfect. Perfect. It all.
We're good.
Yeah, it took two women to figure it out. We're going to figure it out. So for those who don't know, and there's my phone ringing. Does this cut off the video or are we back on? For those who don't know, if you're not a fan of DJ Hed yet, you should be. He is one of my colleagues on iHeart Radio. You can listen to him on Real 92.3. And he's a local guy who came up in Los Angeles. And you're very proud to be from LA, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. You see my hat?
Yep. What does it say? Oh, my God. Why are these... I don't know how, this is going to be a new thing for us to learn, how to stop phone calls coming in at the same time. Oh, LA. Good. You got a Los Angeles hat. And tell me, explain why in particular you are very proud to be from LA and why it seems like other people haven't been.
For me, it's just because like coming up, the way I came up, like we didn't have a lot of opportunities, I guess, in my community. And then also when you talk about musically, like we didn't have a lot of resources, so to speak. So for me, it's been one of those things where I didn't see an overt and representation of Los Angeles culture when it came to mainstream media, like past the 90s, obviously. So there's like this period of time I felt like we were underrepresented in the music industry and in the entertainment industry from my vantage point. So that's always been something that I wanted to push to the forefront.
Yeah, it seems like people identify from all these places, but nobody's proud to say, hey, I'm an Angelino. So I want to get right to it. Are you ready to be kind of on the couch with Dr. Wendy? Be analyzed a little bit? Okay, so I specialize in the science of love. And I believe that we all learn to love from our early childhood relationships. And I have heard you talk a lot about your mom. And if I were to begin, let me just say, how would you describe the relationship you've had growing up with your mom in just 3 words? If you were to give me 3 adjectives to describe the relationship you have with your mom, what would that be?
3 adjectives. Love, respect, and relentlessness.
Was that religiosity? Religiousness? Is that what you said?
No, I said relentlessness.
Relentlessness. So December just made an audio change, but I don't know now that you've silenced me, whether now we've lost audio on all the others.
They should be able to hear you from the phone.
Okay.
No, I can hear you.
I'm wondering if people on Facebook can hear me. If you are watching on Facebook or YouTube, see, where's my camera mic?
Yeah, your microphone's still on.
It's still on?
The volume of your computer is down.
Okay. All right, cool. So we'll switch over. So let's go to relentless. You know, you tweeted one time that your mom, if you're looking for somebody to spare your feelings, it's not going to be me, something like that. Signed, Mom. What did you mean by that?
Yeah. Well, I was on the phone with my mom, and she was telling me that she was saying that if you're looking for someone to spare your feelings, then you better look somewhere else. And what we were talking about was kind of how the world, I guess, is sensitive. Like I grew up in a different way. Like my mom is not, she didn't coddle me. We weren't like, oh, lovey-dovey, like I love you. It wasn't that type of environment. Most of my upbringing was mostly like problem solving, because the economic circumstances that we were in, we didn't have time to like really dive into how we felt about our circumstances. It was more just like, oh shit, the electricity is going to be cut off for the next 4 days until she gets paid. So here goes some batteries for the flashlights. Here goes some matches for the candles, and take all the food out of the refrigerator, put it in the freezer so it'll stay good when the electricity goes off. So I didn't have a lot of like time, I guess you could say, or real estate, emotional real estate to really feel things. It was more just like problem solving time.
But yet the first adjective that I asked of you was love. How did she express her love to you?
Well, because I love my mother. There's nobody greater than my mom. My mom, and I always say like my mom is somebody who set the bar way too high, especially for my love life for women, because my mom is a single mother of 3, me, myself, my brother, and my sister. So my mom, not only was she a single mom, but she had 2 jobs the whole time, pretty much. She would sell Avon. She would sell candy. She would sell candy out of the house. She would sell plates, etc. Right? But then my mom also was going to school, and she got a master's degree. So it's like, and then we never had like a dirty. She was always on top of that, and then like when we were like staying with people and stuff like that, she would make sure she cleaned their house. And then it was just like, so the bar is up here when it comes to women being in my life, because my mom set the bar so damn high.
Did you have any relationship with your dad?
Not really. My dad was, he wasn't really in the picture like that, to be honest. Like my dad was more so, I guess you could say, just like everybody else, like absent. He was like, I would run into him, but not on purpose. Like I would run into him accidentally at my nanny's house.
You know, so you're single now?
Yeah, of course. I'm smart.
Oh, say more about that. Why is single associated with intelligence to you?
Because I don't believe in people like, I always talk about this, right? So there's a couple of women who in my life who I'm pretty sure I should have been with long term. Well, I probably, she's amazing, an amazing woman. I probably should have married this woman, etc. But I just know what it takes for a successful relationship to thrive. And I'm just not willing to do those things at this moment. I guess you could say, like prioritize quality time or prioritize dates, or those types of things aren't a priority to me at this moment in my life. So because I have the wherewithal to understand that it's going to take those types of things. Like I look at relationships as like a full-time job, right? So in addition to your job, you also have a relationship, which is also a job. And I don't think that people really fully understand that. I think that people romanticize the ideology of a relationship, and they don't understand that that's actually a job. Like that's an obligation that you have to do, right? So that being said, if you know you're not willing to do the thing, if you're not willing to execute the obligations of the job, why even take the job? So what I've done is I've set up almost like a blockade in my life where I don't even allow that a type of connections and or energy to infiltrate my program, because I know that I'm not willing to devote the resources to a full-fledged relationship, because I understand that it is a job.
There are 3 words you said a number of times in that make a lot of sense. You said at this moment, right? A lot of people don't understand that for men, Making a commitment in a relationship when it is about hitting what's called a state of readiness. And there are lots of things that go into a man's state of readiness. It could be his education. It could be his career. It could be money. It could be the friend. All his friends are suddenly coupling up, right? He's got no guys to run with anymore. But men could have plenty of women in their past, and you've even mentioned them, where they've had to let them go because their state of readiness wasn't there. They could even imagine more fabulous women in their future, but when they hit their state of readiness, that's when they're ready. So I always tell women that they're wasting their time to try to get a man who's not ready to commit. Because the truth is, if you wait him out, you'll all be exhausted by the end of it. And when he hits his state of readiness, he'll probably be back with you, right? It's all about.
I believe, I remember, shout out to my friend, Spicy Madi. She's a relationship expert as well. And she always talks about this, where it's like when a man is ready, I get quote unquote ready, I guess you could say, to full-fledged be in a relationship, etc. Whoever's around and is the person at the time, that's who wins. So it's like, I know it sounds, I'm just telling you the truth. Like, I don't know if you know, but I'm the honest guy. So I don't have anything to offer but the truth. And that's just the truth. Like, it's like, okay, I think I'm cool. I think I'm ready to settle down. You're good. Come on. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's literally like that. It's And so I know it sounds messed up, but that's just the truth. So when those types of situations happen where women quote unquote try to wait out a man, sometimes it can work out in your favor, but a lot of times it doesn't.
Well, I think you're telling the truth, and I think a lot of women don't realize the truth. They like to think that, well, I'm the special one, and once he meets me, he will see that he will just want to have a commitment, right? But the truth is that you just want to find and identify a man who's at his state of readiness, and eliminate all the others if you're looking for a commitment, right? It's not to say that, human beings have the widest range of sexual behavior than any primate species. And plenty of times, of course, of the lifespan, people may have short-term relationships, sometimes really short, like one night, and they may have longer-term relationships. We are wired to be able to have them all, right? And so I think it's very honest to say, I'm not ready. But I also want to tell women out there, when a dude says he doesn't want a relationship, believe him. Believe him.
Listen to all of the women that watch your program. I just want to say, a man will tell you everything you need to know if you just shut up long enough for him to speak. Like, most of the time, I know. I'm sorry. I talk aggressively. So what I mean by that is, if women often, at least in my life, women often want to express themselves and explain themselves, and they want you to understand where they're coming from, right? But if you just slow down a second and listen to what a man is saying, he's going to give you all the information that you want. He's going to divulge where he was at, who he was with. He's going to tell you all the things that you probably want to know. He's going to tell you about his past, the other girls that he talks to, the other potential competition that you may be up against. He's going to tell you everything if you just shut up long enough. So what I'm saying is, most of the time, women don't allow for that opportunity because they're too busy expressing how they feel about things, right? So, and men aren't necessarily allowed those spaces to express how we feel. So the example I give is when women react negatively to truthful information, and that sets off a red flag, a warning system in a man's mind. And most men aren't cognizant enough or don't have the mental bandwidth to understand what's happening in real time. So what happens is a woman will say, a woman will be like, hey, what'd you do this weekend? And a man will be like, oh, I went out with my ex-girlfriend. We had some dinner. Woo, woo, woo. And the woman was like, what? What do you mean? Like, what you mean? Why are you hanging? So now in a man's mind, you have reacted negatively to me giving you truthful information. So for moving forward in the future, it's like, hey, what'd you do this weekend? Oh, nothing, just kind of chill out, hang out. That's how you start getting those types of answers, because you reacted negatively to truthful information. So what I'm saying, what I'm trying to explain to my homegirls is, just take honest information in, synthesize it, process it, and move accordingly. So that way the man has an open line of communication.
Well, we could take gender out of this completely and just say that human beings need to not only be more authentic with each other, they need to accept and understand why people do the things they do. And more importantly, move away from people that don't satisfy them, right? So many people sort of stay in these kind of situations where they're trying to change the person or change the relationship, when we live in a time where, we don't really need marriage as much as we did in generations before for survival. And there are so many romantic opportunities that sometimes you can just say, you know what, I'm going to wait until I find the person that's right for me. And that may be the guy who's at his state of readiness. But let's get back to you for a minute. So one of the things that you have said in some of your interviews is that you pride yourself on vulnerability and authenticity because you believe those are your strengths. Tell me more about that.
I just believe that, like I said, like I was speaking on, I just don't think that there's a space for men to be vulnerably honest. And I think you get more out of human beings when you are vulnerable. So vulnerability is how you breed greatness. A greater person, a greater thought process, a greater relationship. Vulnerability is the key to everything. That's why we love the artists, the music artists, the musicians that we love, is because they've been vulnerable at some point and shared an experience or shared a struggle or a hardship or something that they've gone through. So, or shared something that you could possibly relate to. Vulnerability is the key to everything. So for me, I try to overshare my life. And the reason I try to do that is so that way I can open a space for other people to be the same way. So it may not be the best practice, to be honest with you. Like when I don't believe in the word dating and I don't believe in the dating process, but when I do entertain women, I try to be vulnerably honest because I want them to be the same. And then the authenticity comes from everybody is fake. Like when you meet someone, like let's say you're going on a date, right? And you meet someone, it's like, okay, I'm going to dinner with Wendy, right? I'm going to dinner with Wendy. More times than not, you're going to meet the person's representative, and that representative is the best version of whoever they're pretending to be at the moment. So it's like, instead of doing that, what I do, which probably isn't the best practice, I give you 100% vulnerability and authenticity out the gate. So that way you know exactly what you're getting yourself into. There is no representative when it comes to me, especially when meeting people. Like when I first meet people, I talk to them like I know them my whole life because I want reciprocity. I want the return. And so those two things to me are the keys to having better connections with other human beings.
Well, obviously in the early stages of human mating strategy, people want to strut their stuff and pretend to be the person they wish they were. It is nice to be able to get to a place of more honest emotion very early on in a relationship. In fact, with my boyfriend on our very first coffee date, I said to him, I'll tell you, and you tell me the 2 reasons why you are undateable. And I had 2 reasons that I knew I was going to tell him. We started off negative. Tell me the 2 reasons you're undateable. And
you know what?
One big one.
I love that. I do the same thing. So before I even get to sharing a meal with a person, when I'm on the phone, I'm like, hey, tell me the top 3 things that's wrong with you in the eyes of your exes, not you, because you're gonna give me some BS. In the eyes of, tell me the top 3 commonalities your past relationship have told you is wrong with you.
Yep.
And so I want to know those things, because to me, it's not what you like or enjoy or love about a person that's going to keep you with them. It's the negative things that you can tolerate. So for me, and it sounds pessimistic when I explain it to people, but it's like, instead of focusing on, oh, I love his smile, oh, I love how he treats me, what don't you like? Because those are the things that are going to be the demise of your relationship.
It's so true. I remember this one tweet that I read that you put out, though, because right now when I'm talking to you, DJ Hed, you clearly have wisdom and you know what relationship takes. You mentioned the work. It's another job to have. But yet I looked at a tweet from a little while back where a woman had tweeted something like, oh, my man came over with flowers and then he made our bike ride feel like date night. And you wrote, does that shit really work? Like a question mark, right? So the relationship maintenance part, I think it does work. You're just not ready to do that investment yet.
You know what it is? You want to be perfectly honest with you, Dr. Wendy? I'm going to tell you the truth. I hate societal norms. I really despise them. I don't subscribe to them. Like, if it was up to me, like, I don't like Valentine's Day. I don't have any Christmas decorations in my house downstairs. It's just, if I choose not to participate in certain aspects of society, I feel like I should have that right. So that being, like, I wouldn't wear pants in public if I didn't have to, right? I don't have on pants now. Too much information.
You have certain things you conform to. There are certain things
so that
you conform to. You wear clothes.
I wear clothes in public. I shouldn't have to celebrate Valentine's Day. You know what I'm saying? So I'm saying that to say there are certain things that I don't just subscribe to. Flowers and stuff like that. I didn't understand that concept until I was 27 years old. That's the first time I bought a woman flowers is when I was turned 27 years old. I had two enlightenments, spiritually and emotionally, mentally and emotionally. One when I was 27, one just recently when I turned 31. And the reason why I bought flowers for the woman is because it just clicked for me, like, oh, they just make her happy. It doesn't have to be an application or functionality to be attached to it. Because like I told you before, how I grew up, it was all utilitarian function. It's all utility. Everything has to make sense. Every dollar is accounted for, because I'm in survival mode, as my manager Salas would say. I'm always in survival mode. So because I'm always in survival mode, I don't have room in my life for luxuries and leisures and stuff like that. So I always looked at flowers, getting a woman flowers, as a stupid ass idea. They're just gonna die on the table, and there was no like utilitarian function for the flowers. Turn 27, it's like, oh, you get her flowers because they make her happy. That's it. There is no function attached to it. That's what clicked for me, and that's why I bought the damn flowers. Prior to that, though, I've gotten a woman brake pads as a gift for her birthday. Brake pads.
Well, that's pretty utilitarian right there. But it's protective.
So in my mind, I thought I was doing an amazing job. I'm like, oh, her brakes. I'm like, I pride myself on being I'm an alpha, diagnosed an alpha, right? So because I'm an alpha male, I'm like, oh, you protect, provide for the woman. So I'm like, oh, her brakes are bad. Let me get her some brake pads. And then I paid her cell phone bill, because to me, those things made sense. It's like, oh, it's her birthday. Let me look out. So it was like, to me, those things made sense to me. And I didn't process how she felt about them. I didn't process any emotion. It's just how I am. You know what I'm saying?
Well, here's some other words to describe what you're describing. So male mating strategy historically has always been to demonstrate waste in resources, because back in our hunter-gatherer past, the guy that brought back the woolly mammoth with the team, today's version of that is the Super Bowl ring, but he gets with a team and he pulls back this big woolly mammoth. He could have fed his family on squirrels. There's no refrigeration. He has to find a way or something to do with all that meat. Well, he shares it with more women and he lets some of it rot, like the flowers in the vase. So he can say, don't worry, ladies, there's more where that came from. I can always go out and get me another woolly mammoth, right? And so you're using modern day terminology for historic courtship behavior. Is that demonstrating waste, whether it's diamond rings, good for nothing, right? Expensive dinners, get digested, go in the toilet, good for nothing. Flowers that die.
That's exactly how I think.
But that's how women gauge whether a guy will sacrifice enough for her. Will he waste and let stuff die? That means he likes me. And that's ingrained in women's psychology, is to watch the waste.
I have a question, not to cut you off, Dr. Wendy, but isn't that asinine? Or am I wrong?
How we evolved for survival. And the reason why we evolved is because now we're in the information age, right? Where we have more women in the workforce now than men. But these are ancient wiring that goes back a very long time. But historically, if women didn't hook up with a guy who could bring them enough protein and protect them and their kids and get shelter going, they died. Their genes fell out of evolution's chain, right? So it's just sort of hardwired in us as a mating strategy. Sure, logically, intellectually, it's asinine, but a lot of stuff is. So let me ask you this question about, go ahead.
Hold on. To go back to finish that, to put a button on this. So in my mind, I want her to acknowledge the ridiculousness in order for me to participate. So I want you to say out of your mouth, hey, babe, I want you to take me out on Valentine's Day when everybody else is out on this Friday night. The whole world is waiting 3 hours to eat a sandwich at this restaurant. I want you to take me out because I have been conditionally societally conditioned to believe that this matters more than any other Friday in February. And I've been marketed to the point where I want you to bring me flowers on this day. That would make me participate because I'm like, you know what? You kept it real. I fuck with that.
Okay. And let me see you waste some money. That's what I want to see. Burn some money in front of me. I have a question. So when you come from, you've mentioned that you came from a family who struggled, single mom, and came out of poverty. You know, poverty stays inside our brains for a long, long time, no matter how successful we become. Do you think you will ever kind of get past it? Do you feel rich? How do you define rich?
I define rich as obviously monetarily, but then also rich in resources, because I just said this too. I was on the air the other day and I just said that I'm finally at a place where I don't feel like I'm worried about being homeless anymore. And what I mean by that is being rich in resources, but not in like I'll be honest with you. I'm pretty much check to check like everybody else because I live right at my means, which is, and I've been up until I turned 31, I've always lived significantly below my means for the fear of going backwards into poverty, right? So that being said, I just arrived at the moment in my life this year where I felt like, okay, I'm never worried about being homeless anymore. I'm never worried about me and my mom having to sleep in a car anymore. So now that I'm not at that place of worry, everything else is topping. It's a cheese pizza. I'm cool with a cheese pizza. If you add pepperoni and everything else, cool. I'll take it too. So that's how I look at right now, where I'm at. I'm not worried about poverty. And I don't think I'm ever going to be over poverty because I'm cheap and I'm frugal and I have to justify everything, which is why I have a problem with wasteful spending with women. But for me, I definitely believe that the poverty is something that is fully ingratiated into every thought process along the way. I don't feel rich at all. And I think that rich is defined for me personally as being rich in resources. You can have $0 in your bank account, but have so many resources that you don't need money, like having a credit card with $100,000 limit, and the credit company is like, hey, you know what? You don't got to worry about that money that you owe us. So it's like, okay, I don't have money, but I have resources to be able to live, do things that I want to accomplish.
Access to money. I'm going to tell you, it's going to hit for you real soon. I want to tell you a little story. An old woman to young man. When I was your age, I was hosting a TV show called Extra, and I had finally a real legitimate salary. Sadly, both my parents died in the same year that year. And we were very middle class. My dad was military, and they had a tiny little life insurance policy that gave me $30,000. And to me, that was this huge chunk of money, like $30,000. I was 32 years old. So I had actually at that point saved up another 30. So I had this whopping huge amount of money, $60,000. I went around Los Angeles with realtors trying to buy real estate. And you know, for $60,000 down payment, you couldn't buy anything. I started in Brentwood. I went to Santa Monica. Finally, one day he said, let's drive down to Venice. And I'm like, no. When I was a news reporter, we used to wear bulletproof vests to drive down there. What do you mean? And he's like, no. I want to get you an apartment building. And I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, if you put 10% down. End of story. I have a building. I've remodeled every inch of it. I've had it for 20 years now. I will retire on that building. I bought it for $600,000. Can you believe it? In Venice at the beach.
Wait.
It's
See, that's what I'm saying.
It's worth about $4 million now. I'm good.
This shit is different, Dr. Wendy, okay? Because I don't even understand that kind of money. You know what I'm saying?
No, but you only need 10% down. You only needed 10% down.
Yeah, but
so
where I come from,
10% can get you.
Not.
And you know what else
ownership
told
is
me?
more or less.
A what?
More not home ownership, but ownership where I come from is like a thing that is something like a once in a lifetime thing. It's more like something like not, I don't know, to call, lack of a better way to say it, but like a pipe dream. It's something that is sold to us or marketed to us as a possibility, but not something that we actually believed is achievable like that.
I know. And I'm going to get your head out of that space, that poverty space. And I'm going to tell you that with just 10% down, and call some of your friends and get partners if you need to, you can have people paying you money to live in your house for the rest of your life. And right. You will, because at this point, you're at that age where you're starting to have income that you could, all you need is a tiny little, we call it the first nut, right? The tiny little nut that grows into everything else. So the reason why I'm on this rather than just love and relationships is because I know so much of men's ability to commit is really them feeling really secure financially. And because the stress of having a wife and kids and everything else is ginormous to men. And so my dream and wish for you is that you can get out of the psychology of poverty and feel truly free. And it will come. So let me ask you this, back to relationships for a minute. What is your plan? Do you see yourself having a family? Do you want to have kids someday?
I look at myself as on the Jay-Z plan. I'll start thinking about that shit when I'm 40.
When you meet Beyonce?
No, I'm just saying, like, I feel like what you just said is how I feel. That's literally how I feel. I don't feel like I'm like, take for instance, a woman that I probably saw as a potential suitor, like a potential wife, right? So I don't look at myself as being in a position to even acquire a family until I'm able to fully support a family by myself. Meaning, and then also you have to take an accountability. I have a mother and my brother and sister who I also help to support, right? So I'm looking at it through a lens of I'm gonna have two families to take care of. So for me, I don't take that lightly. Like I don't take my duties as a man lightly. And I believe, and this is just me being a traditionalist or a caveman. My nickname was Fred Flintstone in my early 20s because the women always refer to me as a caveman. But it is your duty as a man to protect and provide for your family. So it's not something that I take lightly. Like I really believe in that shit. If my homegirls will tell you, my friends, Dr. Wendy, you are my senior. Okay, I respect you. But if we go somewhere, if I take you to the club with me, or we go somewhere for BET weekend, I'm like, hey, everybody's Dr. Wendy, and you come with me, I pick you up, and you're in my truck. I'm responsible for you until I return you to your house, or until I return you to the man in your life. So you're under my care, and I take that shit really serious. So the way I look at the family,
is that an invitation?
Sure, you can pull up whenever you want to. But I'm just saying, when I take those responsibilities really seriously, so I don't just be like, oh, I'm gonna get a girlfriend. Do you know what that means? Like, I think that people romanticize the process and they don't fully understand what that means. Like, oh, you're gonna have a girlfriend, or you're gonna have a fiance or a wife. That means that you're assuming responsibility for another human being. It's no different than having a child. So for me, I think I don't take that lightly, and I'm not going to commit to that situation until I know that I can fully execute the job of that.
Well, I want to remind you that you also said at the beginning of this live stream that your mother is your role model. She put the bar so high for women. She was in the gig economy before there was the gig economy, with 4 jobs, and as a single mom supporting you all and keeping the house clean. So how could you ever find a woman like that? But I want to remind you that a relationship is an exchange of care. And what 2 people can accomplish together is so much greater than what one person can ever accomplish alone, both financially. I mean, here's what we know about long-term committed people. They actually have better health. they have better mental health, they live longer, and they accumulate more wealth, because maintaining 2 homes is obviously more expensive than maintaining 1, right? So could you imagine having a partner who isn't just a burden of somebody to care for, but could you allow yourself to be cared for?
I want to be baby. My love language, how I receive love out of the 5 is definitely acts of service and physical touch. I love being taken care of in that way, physically, meant like financially and stuff. No, I will never allow any woman outside of my mother to ever support me financially in any way. There was a time when I, like 10 years ago, right? I'm broke. I'm living in my mom's house in a room. Like, I'm eating ramen every day. El Pollo Loco, dope ass payday for me. Like, I got paid from DJing some gig. I'm gonna treat myself to El Pollo Loco because I had a little coupons. So that was my financial situation. There was a woman in my life who was significantly financially more stable than I was. She already owned property. She was 20. Oh, she was about 24, 24, 25, 24. She was 24. She owned property already that she was renting out to tenants. She had a 2-bedroom condo in the IE. She had a nice car, and she was in school to be a nurse. She was in school to be a registered nurse. On the side, on the weekends, to pay her bills, she was doing hair and making $75,000 a year just doing hair on the weekends.
Sounds like your mom.
Good, right? She was amazing. And she was like, look, I understand your situation. Move in with me. Let me help you. I believe in you. I know you're gonna be something one day. Like, I wanna be with you. And I would not, I was more prepared to live in my truck than to allow her to take care of me, because that is not how this shit is supposed to go. That's how I feel. That's how I want to live my life. I'm supposed to be having these conversations with her. Hey, you know what? I got you. Move in. It's all good. Bring your little dog, whatever. Right? So, me personally, I can never allow, and I'll just say it, I'll say it on air, but a lot of these men who are like allowing women to completely take care of them and support them, that shit's crazy to me. I would never do nothing like that.
Because we're still in patriarchy and we still only make 72 cents on your dollar. But I will say this, that you have put yourself into a very narrow bandwidth of acceptable male behavior. And I'm not saying that you should ever be supported by a woman, but to find a partner who, like a good, healthy relationship is about taking turns leaning on each other's shoulders. Obviously not having a huge disparity in income where one person's always beholden to the other. Because, yeah, we know that power goes where the money goes. We know that. And the decision-making, etc. But if you could find down the road, and I think it may happen before you're 40. I think you're going to come up on a woman who literally can be a good partner for you once you feel you're at that place and you hit that state of readiness.
If I hit the state of readiness, I think I'm nearing the state of readiness, because I just need to close a couple of deals. Maybe we can have a conversation about a television show or something. Then, you know what? We can talk about women all day. But right now, it's like I just don't see it happening, because I can't see myself financially supporting or even emotionally supporting. Like, I have to get to a state of readiness emotionally too.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm a real hard, rough exterior, callous type of person. So it's like, it takes a very unique individual. I always see girls, like, if you like me, you got to be crazy, because I understand it's a lot of baggage over here. Not baggage in the same, like, women dealing with ex traumas and stuff like that, but I understand, like, I have a lot of rules and stipulations, and it has to fit. The square peg has to fit into the round hole.
Okay, before we go, thanks first of all for giving me all this time. I want to end, because I know you are a philosopher in this area, and I would love to hear your wisdom on a very, very sensitive topic. There is a book out written by Stanford Law professor Ralph Richard Banks, and the book is called "Is Marriage for White People?" He's a Black law professor. He basically says that 70% of Black women in America are unmarried, and they're the most unmarried proportion of our entire population. His advice to Black women, and the reason why he explains is because they are waiting, just like you are, for that partner who's financially the same as them. And as we know, in the last few decades, Black women have been surging ahead of their male peers in education and in income. And so he not attacks, but he kind of criticizes women for saying, you don't want to be with your, cousin from home. You're holding out for this wealthy, successful Black man who's a peer to you. And then they're often dating white women. There's also, we know, because of the injustices in our legal system, too many Black men are incarcerated. So that takes mates off the marketplace. And so his advice is, if you want to save the strong Black family, marry outside of your race. Now, that's one set of advice, saying bring your Black culture into your new house with a man outside of your race. But there's also something going on in our culture where people are wanting to marry inside of their race so that they haven't ingested maybe the beauty ideals of the dominant culture, etc. And so minority populations are saying it's the right thing to do culturally to preserve your culture. How do you integrate those two different concepts? Do you date women outside or inside your race?
I have. I've been all over the spectrum when it comes to that. That doesn't bother me. Like, I just don't like the stipulations of you're supposed to do this or you're supposed to do that. But that's also because I'm just a rebel anyway. I'm a liberal, so I don't believe in conformity or confinement of any kind, censorship. There's an old saying in Black people's households, like my grandma, if she can't use your comb, don't bring her home. All that type of shit, that stuff is weird to me. I don't subscribe to none of that. Who you love is who you love. You know what I'm saying? And who's your match is who your match is. It don't matter what color. They could be purple. If you love that purple Barney looking crazy person, cool. That don't have nothing to do with me. I think that where it gets a negative connotation in as far as like when I talk to my homegirls is they look at white women as a status symbol. It's like, oh, I've reached a certain level, let me get a white woman. And for me, it's never been that. It's really just, I'm going to get to a certain status without whatever woman. And I've never thought about it in the same way, but I've also never been a Black woman. So I don't know the plight or the emotional toll that might take on them when women of other colors, other races are looked at as a status symbol. So as far as that shit's crazy to me. The other part is I don't think you have to stay within your race either. Like I like women. As long as you're a woman, I'm cool. Because I'm not into all the other shit. So I don't really care about race. That's never been a factor to me, whether it's like, oh, I need to marry someone within my race, I'm gonna marry without my race. That's never been a thought process of mine at all. But it is something I want to ask you too about marriage, right? So I'm gonna tell you what I said to Big Boy, because me and Big Boy have our thing, and he's on one side of the fence, and I see on the other side of the fence, right? So I presented an argument to Big and told him that marriage is for people who have savings accounts, and both are dumb to me. Outside of religion, this is my question to you, and then I'm gonna throw the question to you, and then I'm gonna tell you what I think.
Okay.
So my question to Big was, outside of religion, what is the actual purpose of marriage? If you don't believe in the religious aspects of marriage, what is the purpose? So what they were throwing, I'm gonna let you answer, but what they were throwing out to me was, oh, it's commitment. I'm like, well, you could be committed without a marriage. Oh, well, if you want to have a family, I could have kids without a marriage. Oh, well, it's financial. They're common law. If we just live together too long, it's the same rules apply anyway. What is the actual purpose? And they were like, well, you're just thinking too. No, I said the people who get savings accounts to me are the same type of people who get married outside of the religious aspect. And the reason that is because you need to be held accountable for your own actions. To me, that's dumb. I have a savings account, but all my money sits in my checking account. Why? Because I have enough discipline not to touch my money, right? So with that being said, if you apply that same ideology to marriage, you need a piece of paper or swearing in to God in order for you to honor the contract of commitment with this person, then you just lack discipline in general. Am I wrong in that assumption?
No, you're absolutely right. But let me explain the history of marriage. First of all, marriage evolved as to bring tribes together. It's a bridge between tribes. That was back in our anthropological. Once we started to accumulate resources, it was about creating economic alliances between families, of course. Then when we evolved from hunter-gatherers into farming, let me tell you, women were very successful when we were hunters and gatherers. We ran with our girl pack. We had our kids with us. Men came and went. There was lots of monogamy. Men stayed close to help us, and there were brothers and uncles, etc. But we were free to extract resources from the environment. That means make as much money as a man. That means picking as much fruit, nuts, and killing as much animals as we needed. And so once we became farmers and women were stuck on one plot of land with one guy, a hut, and a few tools, this was the biggest downfall for women. And that was the first time women actually needed marriage for economic survival for them and their kids. Religious institutions stepped in, made it something sacred, and culture was off to the races, saying that it was somehow connected with romance. We do know that laws around marriage have been changing very fast. We're also in the first time in American history with the last census where there are more unmarried adults in America than married adults. So in 1950, by the time an average man was 26 years old, he was married, had a mortgage, had a job, and had 2 kids, right? And about 80% of people over the age of 18 were married. Now we have 49% of adults who are married. And I feel that what we're actually turning back to is something more natural for our species. We are wired to be serial monogamous. And when I say monogamous, there's still a group of humans who will mate for life with the same person. That's just the way they're wired, and that's fine. But for the rest of us, so DJ Hed, listen to this statistic. If you got married in the year 1900, and you professed we are going to be together until death do us part, the average length of that marriage was 12 years. Because of death, all kinds of bad things happen, disease, wars, etc. If you got married in 1990 and you professed till death do us part, the average length of that marriage was 12 years. Now we're separating because of divorce. So do I think marriage is necessary? Not for everyone. Do I think marriage for many people adds whatever, either a spiritual component or the public eyes, getting a whole group of people watching that ceremony makes it feel real to them? Some people need that. Sounds like you don't need it. And also people, I myself as a person who attends weddings, I'm always I'm cynical because I'm always like, I spent $200 on that gift. How many years do I give this marriage? Knowing that the divorce rate is so high, right? So I'm a little bit cynical. I have, in my life, been everything. I've been a big white Catholic bride when I was 21 years old for my mother, divorced by the time I ended college. I've been a live-in girlfriend. I've been a mistress to a married man. I've been a single mother for 15 years with nothing. And I now have a great committed relationship with a boyfriend, and I'm not looking to ever be married again. But if he wanted to, because he wanted whatever, the show to put on that performance and have all the people watch, then I'd take into account his feelings. But yeah, there's no one rule anymore. That's the great thing where we live. Okay,
and then my other question to you, because I had you probably don't know who this woman is, but she's an industry girl. Let's just say that, okay. Right? Her name is Brittany Renner, and I asked her when she came up to my show. I asked her, what did she prefer? Did she like to be the mistress? Did she prefer being a side chick, or did she prefer being the married woman, or in a relationship, or whatever? So what you just said, because I pay attention for a living, what you just said is you've been all of these things. You've been a mistress to a married man. You've been the live-in girlfriend, all these things. What do you prefer?
Oh, man, what a good question. Well, let me say this. I sure wish I had some male help and support during 15 years of raising kids. I really believe that marriage would have been necessary, and more legally get more help. So that was the time where life was a real struggle for me. And I think it depends on different stages of life. When people are young and in their reproductive years, I think I would have, if you asked me then, I would have said I wanted to be married because marriage was associated with security for kids, right? And believe it or not, it's still the best deal we have for kids. You know, until we have more societal supports for single parents, like free childcare in every workplace, and that's my goal before I leave the planet, is to put free childcare for all parents of all genders in workplaces, and integrate family life more with work life. And I think during COVID, every company has now seen when you're trying to also homeschool your kids at home while you're trying to do work at your computer, companies have said, okay, we've got to figure this out, right? So to answer your question, right now, well, you know, so much of it, like you said, depended on resources. I lived with a very wealthy man in my 20s.
Let me refine the question.
Yeah.
Let me refine the question.
Okay.
At the peak of each phase in your life,
yeah,
which was the best for you? Which did you prefer?
They each had their highs. You know, there's something special. There's something special about being a mistress and getting only the good parts of somebody's husband, flying off to a fancy hotel, being given champagne, and then you don't have to deal with any of the bad stuff. They just leave. When I lived with a boyfriend for a lot of years, he could be watching right now. He lives in Florida. I was always longing. We were engaged, but he would never set a wedding date. So it was like these 4 long years of begging to try to set a date until I left. But then that was because of reproductive years. I will say that I'm happiest that I've ever been in my life right now, because my kids are grown, and well, almost. I have one who's a senior in high school and one just graduated college. So that big burden is off me and I feel free to do anything. And I love that freedom.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You know what, Dr. Wendy, I like you because you keep it real. Like a lot of people, it's hard for me to talk to certain people because I'm always the one being radically honest in the situation.
One last question before we go. Has your honesty, and I have a big mouth like you, and I say honesty to the point that people hate me and move away from me because I'm only just saying the truth that I see. Has honesty ever gotten you in trouble?
All the time. I've been punched in the face for being honest with people. I've lost great relationships with people. It's something that I'm writing a book right now, and I'm debating on putting this altercation that I had with a huge. There's nobody bigger in my industry than this person, and we had an altercation because of my honesty, and I was honest with that person. So there's various levels of things. I've been threatened. There's all kind of things that have happened because of me being honest. But rest in peace to my brother Nipsey Hussle, who told me one day when I was honest with him about something. I told him, I'm not gonna go into the whole conversation, but I basically critiqued him, and that was the first time that I had actually critiqued him to his face, and I told him about himself, what he should do, what he needs to do, how he's going to break out and be a national act, and et cetera, et cetera. And after I critiqued him, the conversation, I mean, the mood and the energy in the room was a little uneasy, right? So as I was just going to leave, and as I was leaving, he pulled me aside and he said, "You say," I'm gonna tell you exactly what he said, Dr. Wendy. Nipsey said to me, he said, "You know what, Hed? You say crazy shit." He said, "But you know why people fuck with you?" And I said, "Why?" He said, "Because your intentions are pure, and that's why I fuck with you." And so, to me, that's all I care about. I don't care about how people receive the information I give. I don't care about how you internalize it, what you take from it, how you juice it down and turn it into some other shit. All I care about is if my intention is pure, I assume no responsibility for anything else.
Yep. Well, I get in trouble like you all the time. With me, it's a bunch of women who stop talking to me because I said, "You're marrying him? You've only been dating 3 months? Really? They don't like to hear that.
You want
Anyway.
to buy another building. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. I got to be careful what I say. I want to buy another building. Good to see you. It'll be wonderful when we all get back to the office at iHeart. I've been working from home for all this time because I'm a little older than you. And anyway, I see you in the hallways at iHeart. I'll give you a big hug because we'll be past COVID at that point.
Yeah, don't be a stranger, Dr. Wendy. I appreciate you, and I really appreciate you having me on. You know,
thank you. Well, you're.
I look forward to it again. I love to talk just like you. So anytime you need a perspective of a Capricorn alpha black male from LA, let me know.
I'm going to put you in my little contact list. Capricorn alpha black male. Bing, got him. DJ Hed, thanks so much for being with me. If you want more of DJ Hed, you need to listen to him on Real 92.3. What's your shift? When are you there? In the evening, right?
7 p.m. Monday through Saturday. Hit me up.
7 p.m. I'll be listening. Take care. Bye.